There are a lot more terrible things in life than, a head coach coming back for another season.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Now, do I agree with it? I don't. I think the Buccaneers probably could have moved off of him. Maybe the Glazers canvassed the area and looked at the pool of candidates and said, I don't know about this go around in terms of the candidates that are available, although there are some really good guys out there, John Harbaugh being one of them. Maybe they reached out to John Harbaugh and he said, no. You have to think about that too. So maybe the Glazers did not have the guy out there that they wanted, and they decided to stick with Todd for one more year. Entirely possible. So what happens from here? What type of changes can we expect? Ladies and gentlemen, I know he's champing at the bit to get back on us here at the Central Florida Behavioral Health Network, WDA hotline. Learn more at cfbhn.org. My good friend Scott Reynolds, PewterReport.com. Go read his article. It's a good one. He believes the Buccaneers should have moved off of Todd Bowles. And Scott joins us here on a wacky Wednesday, Scotty. Let me tell you, it's been wild this entire afternoon, as you can imagine. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. We just got through doing our Pewter Report podcast, and same type of fan reaction. The natives are restless. They're not happy with this move, right? We did a poll on Pewter Report's X account after the Dolphins game, and we put the question out there, and we even gave like 3 different scenarios. We're like, would you like to see Todd Bowles return? Like, yes, I want Todd Bowles back. The second one was, yes, but only if the Bucs win the division, right? The third one was no, absolutely not. Okay, so we gave the fans like 2 options, like, yes, we want him back for sure, or yeah, only if they win the division. There's only one answer that was no, absolutely not. And that's the one that got 90% of the votes.
Wow.
And over 2,100 respondents to that X poll. So this is not a popular move at all. I think the only thing that will maybe make this fan base come around is, we expect Josh Grizzard to be the scapegoat. Who replaces him? Can they get a high-profile offensive coordinator in here to replace him? Someone with experience that's going to bring an exciting offense? That remains to be seen. What's different now, outside of you have Baker Mayfield for one more year because he's under contract in 2026. But Todd Bowles was 8-9 coming off that 2022 season. He's at 8-9 now, and he's going to be on the hot seat to start the season.
100%.
Whether the Blazers like it or not, whether they want to accept that or not, he is. Not just from Pewter Report, WDAE, the national media is going to say the exact same thing, okay? What offensive coordinator is going to want to come in with a lame duck coach in this situation? It took like 10 or 12 candidates for them to find one that said, me, I will. That was Dave Canales. He's the only one that wanted the job. They offered it to Todd Monken.
And he never called plays before, and like until high school, I think was the last time or something.
Yes. They offered it to Todd Monken, and he's like, I've got a job offer with Baltimore and John Harbaugh, who's Mr. Consistent. And I don't know, you've got, because Tom Brady just retired, you've got Kyle Trask, and then, John's got Lamar Jackson. I think I'm going to Baltimore. You can't blame him, right? But there was other coaches that you would think that they would love to have the opportunity to call plays, but the NFL and Josh Grizzard's going to find this out. It's like when you have your shot and you don't produce, you go back to the bottom of the barrel, and it's going to be a long time before you get another shot.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to make that count. Sometimes that's why we see coaches like Ben Johnson. He wanted to wait until the right opening, right? Because if you take a bad head coaching position like Arizona or someplace like that, right, where they just constantly churn through coaches, it ruins your reputation, and you have to wait a lot longer. So sometimes it's better to wait and pick your opportunity. I just don't know who they're going to find for an offensive coordinator to come in and want to work in this situation, unless there's a wink and a nod, or maybe some opportunistic guy that says, well, maybe I come there and they do for me what they did with Dirk Cutter replacing Lovie Smith. Maybe I get that promotion if I do well. But usually when you've got a bad record, everybody goes.
Yes, everybody goes. Scott Reynolds, PewterReport.com's with me. And I brought that up for the last hour or so and taking like dozens of angry phone calls, as you can imagine. And obviously on the Pewter Report podcast, you got the same thing. Let me ask you this. So Baker Mayfield's had 8 offensive coordinators in 8 years because of what you just mentioned, and I agree with you, and I mentioned it about an hour ago as well.
Yeah.
Could it be that because they want to maintain some sort of continuity that Josh Grizzard maybe comes back for next year and there are other changes?
Yeah, maybe. At this point in time, I wasn't a huge fan of what Grizzard did, especially down the stretch. I mean, let's not forget this team scored 10 points in Miami, 10, until the garbage time touchdown against the prevent defense, right? Because the Dolphins are up by 10 points, 20-10, until that last minute. They scored 16 points to get a 2-point win against the Panthers. They've scored more than 20 points one time since they put up 32 points, or 33 points, I guess, at Buffalo. That was a 28-point game against the Falcons, and they lost that game 29-28. I'm more concerned, honestly, what they're going to do on the defensive side. If I'm the Glazers, that's the side of the ball that's broken more, and that's Todd Bowles. That's his side. He has his fingerprints all over it. I'm firing Kevin Ross. I'm firing Nick Rapone, right? Or at least I'm telling Todd he needs to make those changes. Larry Foote, I love him. I think he's a good coach, but he did not help the pass rush this year, right? So that's probably not the answer there. What did George Edwards do? He couldn't coach outside linebackers. Did the secondary get any better? No, there were still busts in coverage every single week, right? So my whole point is like, if you're keeping Todd, like, is he going to be okay watching someone else call defense? That's kind of what he likes to do.
That would be really awkward. Really awkward.
Yeah.
And Larry Foote was a guy who vouched for Hassan Reddick, did he not?
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah, and it didn't work out, and that doesn't bode well for him. So I don't know if you are keeping Todd and you're forcing him to make all these wholesale changes and maybe bring in a defensive coordinator with a different defense, right, with his own coaches and stuff. Like, why are you keeping Todd?
Exactly.
Like, isn't that supposed to be like his the side of the bread that gets buttered? The defense, that's his. Now, it was different with Bruce Arians, right? Because he was a play caller out in Arizona. But he said, hey, I'll take the job, but Byron's going to have to call the plays because of my health, right? I don't want the responsibility of coming out of retirement and being the head coach and the play caller again, not at age 67 or however old he was. That's a different situation. I think with Todd, he's going to want to call the plays. And boy, if he's forced to give up play calling duties, I just don't see the allure and the appeal of keeping him. I mean, when you look at the walk around coaches in the NFL that have had success. I mean, look at the AFC North. John Harbaugh been there for 18 years. Mike Tomlin been there for 20 or something, right? Those guys have energy. Those guys are motivators, and they don't really call plays on offense or defense, but they set the tone.
Right.
I don't like the tone that Bowles set.
Look, I brought up this exact same point yesterday. Like, if you're forcing Todd Bowles to make changes, you need a new defensive coordinator, and then he's the guy that just oversees the whole operation. I don't think he's a strong enough type of coach to be that guy to oversee all aspects of the operation because he's a defensive guy. That's what he does. And if he has to give that up, again, then what's the point of keeping him?
I agree.
So, Scott Reynolds, PewterReport.com. Let me ask you this, okay? Because there's a lot of moving parts to this. Is it possible that the Glazers canvass the deal, and you know this, you've been around a long time. If you're thinking about making a change, you'll go through back channels and ask, hey, would this guy be available? Would that guy be available? Is it possible that they did that and the guy that they wanted wasn't interested or available?
Yeah, there's certainly that possibility. I mean, the Glazers told on themselves, right, in the docuseries, right? They talked about that meeting with Bill Parcells, getting him and having those conversations.
Denny's,
Dungy
right?
was still coaching.
Was it a Denny's?
Yeah, exactly, right? They talked about using the media to make it seem like they were going to hire Steve Mariucci. And Joe Glazer even says, like, we were never going to hire Steve Mariucci, but they used the media to convince Al Davis that was a real possibility, right? And that that's what helped prompt him to trade John Gruden to Tampa Bay, right? I've seen it all, man. I've seen Bruce Arians retire on March 30th, 2 weeks after free agency, less than a month before the draft and just hand the team over to Todd. I've seen them fire John Gruden and Bruce Allen 19 days after the end of the 2008 season. I mean, I want to believe that they've made this decision, and it seems like they're going to stand by it. Jenna Lane just reported a few minutes ago, because my big question, what we talked about on our podcast today, is okay. Well, they met with Todd Bowles on Tuesday. When was that meeting? Was that before John Harbaugh? The news broke. Could that have changed things? But according to Jenna's reporting, I have no reason to not believe it. I think she's right. She found out that yes, that meeting between the Glazers and Bowles happened after it was known that John Harbaugh was already out there. And so if that's the case, then Harbaugh is out there and available. And then they decided to tell Todd Bowles anyways. Now, is it possible the Glazers reserve the right to change their mind? Yes, we saw them do that with John Gruden and Bruce Allen. Again, 19 days later. I'm not trying to give fans any false hope here. I'm just looking at all of the available scenarios because everything under the sun has happened. This team has traded for a head coach in February. Remember that. John Gruden wasn't the coach of the Buccaneers until like the middle of February. They went like a month without the coach. I remember John Lynch being at the Pro Bowl in Hawaii, TKras, and recalling how embarrassed he was. He's like, we don't know who our head coach is going to be. Fired Tony like a month ago. Here I am at the Pro Bowl. I don't know who my coach is going to be, right? So I've seen it all. So in theory, what if John Harbaugh, what if they have conversations and it kind of heats up, stealthily behind the scenes, and all of a sudden Harbaugh's interested? Would they make the move and pull the old switcheroo?
They should.
They should.
They absolutely
might.
should.
I don't know. Yeah.
But
yeah, I would. But my last name is not Glazer. It's Reynolds.
No, it is. My last name is Krasnicki. It's not
right.
Glazer or Reynolds, for that matter. Scott Reynolds is with me, PewterReport.com. So,
hey, listen, all I know is you and I, we need to grab a bourbon and just.
Yes, because there's a lot of things that we certainly need to talk, and that absolutely has to happen.
And get ready for this 2026 season, I guess.
So what type of changes do you expect Bowles to make? Because there's no doubt that, and I mapped it out yesterday, that they probably went into that meeting and the Glazers said, we got 3 questions for you. What happened after the bye? What happened to your defense? What type of changes are you willing to make? Yeah. So I think the third question is the biggest one. So what kind of changes? We have to absolutely assume that the special teams guy's gone, right?
Got it. Yeah, I would hope so, right? Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like if Todd is telling them what they want to hear, then that's that's self-preservation. That's probably smart, right? But I mean, and it's probably also necessary too. I mean, we watched all these games, so do the fans. I mean, we know what's wrong with this team. It's not like it's a state secret or anything, right? Defense wasn't good. There were continual busts in coverage. This team did not get to the quarterback with any regularity, certainly with the 4-man front. They did okay stopping the run at times, but then when they had to stop the run, they couldn't, right? A lot of teams elected to pass against the Buccaneers because that was the easiest way to get first downs and touchdowns. Their red zone defense was atrocious. So I just don't know where the evidence is in that 9-game stretch where they went 2-7, where Todd Bowles says, well, I didn't have the answers back then, but I got the answers for 2026. I don't know that you can believe him. I mean, where's the credibility? I mean, I genuinely like Todd. I hope if Todd ends up staying, I hope that he proves me wrong, and I'd love to see nothing more than him get double-digit wins and win this division and get this team back on track. It's not because I'm like a Buccaneer fan. I just like watching good football. I like watching good, competent football. And if the Buccaneers were a good team and they lost on Sunday to another good team that would just happen to be better, then you live with that. But it's one thing to sit there and say, all right, 2024, hey, we lost 4 games in a row. One of those was, to the Ravens, really good team. Then we lost to the Falcons because we didn't have Mike and Chris, and we were making adjustments. And then we went on the road in Kansas City. Oh, we're playing at Arrowhead against Mahomes on Monday night. We lost that game. Then we come home. We lost the 49ers. That was a really tough stretch. And I know we lost 4 games in a row in 2023, but man, we lost 4 games in a row in 2024 against really good teams without Mike and Chris. Okay. You know what? Same kind of circumstances, right? You lose really good Patriots team, you lose to a really good Bills team, you lose to a really good Rams team. Okay. I mean, you can kind of make an argument. They were the better teams than the Buccaneers. But Tom, you lost to the Saints at home. You lost to the Falcons at home.
Bad.
You lost to the Panthers on the road. You lost to the Dolphins on the road.
The Dolphins game bothers me a lot.
It does. 3 out of those 4 teams had backup quarterbacks. All 4 of those teams had losing records.
And 2 of them had rookies starting.
How do you explain that away? You know?
Is it possible that he went into that meeting and said, look, I know my defense was bad, but I don't have the horses. I don't have the pass rusher. I don't have the linebackers who can cover.
Sure.
Is it possible that he probably made now, if he went in there stating all those things, and then you're indicting your GM at the same time, right?
Sure. Well, you are, of course. And listen, Jason Light has his fingerprints all over those draft picks, right? He's the GM. It's his team. He makes those picks. But you don't think for a second that Todd Bowles' fingerprints aren't on Logan Hall, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, Devin White, Benjamin Morrison, Chris Braswell? These are all defensive players. Jason's not going to draft a player on defense and just force him on Todd Bowles without Todd Bowles saying, yep, I see where you like this guy as a pass rusher. I see where you like this guy as a defensive tackle. I see where you like this guy as a defensive back. Todd Bowles is in collaboration, even more so on the defensive guys than he is on the offensive guys with Jason Light. So, yes, Jason Light, there's definitely some culpability there. I'm not trying to absolve Jason Light of any blame for the Logan Halls, the Joe Tryon-Shoyinkas, and the Chris Braswells, the failed front 7 guys, right? For sure. But those are all defensive players that were drafted in concert with Todd Bowles' seal of approval and the thumbs up. So it's a little bit of a shallow argument to make, right? Now, if Jason was some dictator and said, I'm going to draft players that I like, whether you like them or not, and trust me, that's exactly what Rich McKay did to John Gruden in 2003, right? John Gruden didn't want Rich McKay. John Gruden didn't want Marquise Walker. Those were Rich McKay draft picks. John Gruden will tell you that to this day, right? But every pick that Todd Bowles and Jason Light have made has been in concert together. So you can say that, but it also your fingerprints are on the murder weapon too.
I'll get you out on this. I got a minute left. Is it possible, and obviously I've taken dozens of angry calls on social media. You've seen it too. Is it possible that the Buccaneers might feel compelled, Scott Reynolds, to make a big splash this offseason in order to try and, I don't know, appease or maybe win back some of the fans that are a little ornery right now? Because I need to see something big happening with the front 7 because that guy's not there, whether it's attempting to trade for Max Crosby or making some other big move. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the Max Crosby trade, I think, would help. Right? It would help the mood, help the fan base. More importantly, help the pass rush, help the win column, right? So, yeah, you can accomplish those things too. The byproduct, essentially, would be to appease the fans, right? But more importantly, you need good players to help the defense be more productive, rush the passer, win more games, right? And more wins helps everybody. Helps Jason Light, helps Todd Bowles, helps the play callers. It helps everybody. So I don't know that the Blazers are going to be going in thinking, well, we got to appease the fans, but you can accomplish that by trying to go out and get good football players, because you make a big splash like that, and that's going to be a very healthy byproduct. The fans will be happier about maybe stomaching Todd Bowles in 2026 if he has some guys to work with. I'll say this real quick. Jason Light knows what it's supposed to look like, right? He's the guy that drafted Vita Vea, that swapped out, unpopular move at the time, but it worked, swapped out Gerald McCoy for Ndamukong Suh. He traded for Jason Pierre-Paul. He signed Shaq Barrett. So Jason knows what it's supposed to look like. I trust Jason. He knows he screwed up. He knows that the draft picks haven't hit. He knows he's got to do more than just rely on draft picks. And Todd Bowles was a much better defensive coach with those guys too. Just ask Patrick Mahomes. But can they do it? And can they do it in one season to save the ship from sinking? That remains to be seen.
The pressure is on. All right. Read them at pewterreport.com. It's a great article. Scott Reynolds, my man. I'm going to text you about the bourbon thing because it's way long overdue. Way overdue, my friend.
We might need a bottle, not just a glass.
I got a couple of those. I'm just saying. Yep. I'll be in touch, my friend. Great job as always.
Appreciate it, TKras.
You got it. The great Scott Reynolds.
house.
Yeah, drinks are on the house for sure. And that's absolutely going to happen, Scott and everybody else. All right, when we come back, great stuff there. Sam, Lewis, I know you guys are holding on. So that's interesting. So Jenna Lane